This is Chapter 14, Part 4. It can be argued that family influences form the cornerstone of any successful substance abuse prevention program. We know the family is very important for the behavior of teenagers, and it's true when it comes to drug taking. The family is the first line of defense against substance abuse. Reaching the parents or guardians of youths at greatest risk, however, it's a challenge. It's a difficult task. Too often, substance abuse prevention programs are attended by parents or guardians who really don't need the information because, if it's a volunteer sort of thing, who's going to show up? What kind of parents are going to show up? Those who are kind of probably the best parents, the most concerned, most involved parents, and the ones with kids who are probably least likely to develop a drug problem. So it's kind of the wrong people who are showing up at these, for these prevention programs. Those who need the information the most, parents who are either in denial, too embarrassed, or too out of control themselves, are noticeably absent. So that's a problem with any volunteer program, is you tend to get people who need it the least. Other parents or guardians may need and generally want to participate, but they may have difficulty attending because of lack of childcare at home, lack of transportation, scheduling conflicts with their employment, or language difficulties. So there's also differences in families with about time and resources to be able to participate in these programs. Comprehensive substance abuse prevention programs strive to incorporate parents or guardians, as well as other family members such as grandparents, into the overall effort. We know that comprehensive tends to be better than not comprehensive, and so bringing the family into it is going to be part of the one piece of the puzzle here. The reason lies in the variety of special roles that they play in influencing children. As role models, parents and guardians may drink alcoholic beverages, smoke, or drink excessive amounts of caffeinated coffee, not thinking of them as drug-taking behaviors that could potentially, be setting a bad example. A counterproductive example. They can avoid sending their children signals about abstinence that are inconsistent at best, hypothetical at worst. So again, we know that as parents, we're all imperfect and we may have bad habits ourselves, and that the kids observe that and may pick up that and may imitate that. So, so the parental role is important when it comes to the issue of drug use and drug abuse. As educators, or resources for information, they, meaning parents, can help by conveying verbal messages about the health risks that are accurate and sincere. Again, a source of information, a source of guidance, a source of good advice, of wisdom, if the parents are doing a good job. As family policymakers and rule setters, they can convey a clear understanding of the consequences of drug-taking behaviors. So again, the parents have a lot of influence on these kids because of that special role that they have. One important role of a parent is to do a lot of teaching and kind of letting these young people who don't know too much about the real world, letting them know what it's really like, or what the realities are. If a parent or guardian cannot or will not back up family rules with logical and consistent consequences, the risk increases that the rules will be broken. As stimulators of enjoyable family activities, parents or guardians can provide alternative behavioral programming necessary to steer youth away from high-risk situations. So again, one thing that families do, they provide opportunities for activities. Good activities or bad activities, or lack of supervised activities. And the criminological research is very clear on one circumstance where kids are more likely to get into trouble is if they have a lot of unsupervised group disorder, like unorganized, unsupervised settings. That kids in those sorts of situations are more likely to get into trouble. As consultants against peer pressure, parents or guardians can help reinforce the peer refusal skills of their children. Children and adolescents frequently report that a strongly negative reaction at home was the single most important reason for their refusing alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs from their peers. So the signal sent by parents turns out makes a difference. In recognition of the importance of parental communication in efforts to reduce substance abuse, the program called Parents the Anti-Drug has been a feature in public service announcements in recent years. When asked whether they talk to their teenagers about drugs at least once, 90% of parents reported that they had done so, but only 65% of the teenagers recalled such a conversation. So there's a discrepancy here about, okay, what's the reality? All the parents are saying they're talking to their kids, but a lot of the kids are saying it's not happening. So there's some disconnect here. Barely 27% of teenagers reported learning a lot at home about the risk of drug use, even though virtually all the parents said they had discussed the topic. 27% is not very impressive. Anti-drug media campaigns have focused on parent-child communication skills, specifically on the difficulty many parents have in talking to their children about sensitive subjects like drugs and the role of drug-taking behavior in their children's social lives. So again, it's a little bit odd to me in my own personal experience. I haven't found it difficult at all to talk to kids about drugs, but I don't know, maybe being a criminologist, I'm more comfortable with talking about these issues, and I know the realities are that you really got to talk about stuff, but it seems like there's a lot of parents who aren't so comfortable with that. A recent survey of teenagers ages 12 to 17 measured the effects of 3 circumstances on the likelihood that a teenager might engage in some form of substance abuse. Number 1, the degree of stress they feel they're under. So stress is a factor here. 2, the frequency with which they're bored. Boredom might not be a factor you think would matter much, but it does a lot. Not only just for like drug use, but also for delinquency too. One reason why kids get involved in delinquent behaviors or drug taking is that they're bored. They don't have anything better to do. And 3, the amount of money that they have to spend in a typical week. So if you have more discretionary money, if teenagers have more money that they can do whatever the heck they want with, greater likelihood of using drugs and abusing drugs. Here, the focus was on substance abuse. High-stress teens, and this was about 25% of the sample, were high-stressed, were twice as likely as low-stress teens to smoke, drink, get drunk, and use illicit drugs. So you can see it appears that even among these young people, kids really, that one of the reasons why people use is to relieve stress, which is it's kind of a mild form of self-medication. You don't feel very good, you got this stress, you got these kind of unpleasant feelings, and you quote-unquote medicate those feelings with drug use. And so you can see that in this sample there was about equal numbers of really high-stress kids versus low-stress kids. But it's the high-stressed ones who are a lot more likely to use smoking, drinking, getting drunk, using illegal drugs. Teens reporting that they were frequently bored were 50% more likely than not often bored teens to engage in these behaviors. So boredom is a factor. Stress is a factor. Boredom is a factor. A couple of things you might not even really think of necessarily. Teens with $25 or more a week in spending money, pure spending money, they didn't need it for anything, were nearly twice as likely as teens with less spending money to smoke, drink, and use illicit drugs. And they were more than twice as likely to get drunk. This is one thing that kind of goes against what we usually say in sociology, is that poverty is more likely to get you into trouble. Not so with drugs. And drugs is that one factor that makes you more likely to use drugs is wealth, is money, is money that you can spend, discretionary money, we might call it, money that's free to spend on whatever you want. And that's one reason why there's about as many middle class or upper class young people who use and abuse drugs compared to poor people. So that goes against what we usually typically think of as negative things going with poverty. Combining 2 or 3 of these risk factors, so high stress, frequent boredom, too much spending money, made the risk of smoking, drinking, and illicit drug using 3 times higher than those who had none of these characteristics. So 3 things, I think this is an interesting set of studies, because it's 3 things that you may not first think of as predicting drug use behavior. Stress, boredom, money. Okay, now that finishes up the family section of the chapter. I basically am out of time now. So I want you to, as usual, these chapters tend to be overstuffed, and there's a few remaining sections that talk about other issues of prevention programs. For example, preventions at the workplace. Take a look at those. Again, looking for the big picture. Get familiar with the material at least at a basic level, so you'll be able to recognize correct answers versus incorrect answers. So we'll talk to you again next week.